This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. Consider this vitamin or supplement for your mind, your heart, and your soul. Wherever you downloaded this podcast from, would you mind subscribing to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? If you could leave a rating and write a brief review, it would be very, very helpful. Here's what I want you to know today about leaders, whoever you are, whatever you're leading. Never, ever forget you are human. And that's okay. That's who you are. That's who I am. One of the things that will get leaders in trouble is if they think they're perfect, beyond flaw or mistake, or that everything is always going to go your way. It does not work that way. As a matter of fact, I'm wondering if you have discovered that life, like the climate, moves in seasons. I live in a part of the world where there are 4 distinct seasons. I might even say 4 very harsh seasons, all different from the other. When I lived in Southeast Michigan, why God allowed me to go there, I'm not quite sure. I don't like winter. I loved living in Southeast Michigan. But one day, I was griping and complaining to someone about the harsh winter, the snow and the cold and the gray skies. This person looked at me and said, "Let me tell you something. If you're going to live here, you had better embrace winter." And so I did something that if you had told me before that I was going to do, I would have said to you, I will never do that. I went and bought snowshoes. I got snow clothing, began to go tubing down hills, and followed that advice. If you're in the winter season in a part of the world where winter is a reality, you can try to curse it and complain and gripe, but the better thing may be just to embrace it. I don't know what season you're in, but whatever season you're in your life and in your leadership, embrace it. I have just gone out, passed through a fairly tough season in my life, and I tried to embrace it. Now that I'm pretty much through it, through the circumstance, I can see that there were lots of lessons to be learned. And so rather than worrying and complaining and longing for the next best season, we have to live where we are today. And there's a lesson to be learned. There's something we need to do. One of the difficult things of being a leader is most of our training, formal and informal, really didn't train us for all that we have to do. Most leaders, I have discovered in talking with them or listening or reading after them, is you learn on the job. No amount of mentorship, training, academic training, seminars, books will ever adequately prepare you for all that's involved in leading and all that's involved in leading in the way that you do. One of the greatest tools for learning is trial and error. And we can complain, say, my professors should have trained me better. They should have given me a class on this. There should have been ample opportunity to have gotten better at this. But really, trial and error is one of the better ways to learn. Because the important thing is you learn ways not to do something for sure. And that is an important lesson. I was just telling someone the other day, I never attended a church board meeting until I was the chairman of the board. And that is a vulnerable place to be because everyone else has more experience than you do. But according to the bylaws, you are the chairman of the board. And so you just have to study, research, talk to people, trial and error, circle the wagons and say, boy, I didn't do that very well. Let's try it another way. What I'm saying to you is you may feel that you're stuck. You may feel a bit overwhelmed. You may feel, and we all feel this from time to time, totally inadequate for whatever it is you're facing. Listen to me today. You are where you are on purpose. You have a divine appointment. Embrace this season and decide to be a better leader, a better person, a better husband, a better wife, a better family member, just a better friend because of what you're going through, for what you're going through. Well, here are some things that I think help us to embrace our humanness as leaders. The first one is admit your mistakes. I've met a lot of leaders and have been around a few who could not ever bring themselves to admit that they were wrong. I remember a leader that I was in very good relationship with. We were in kind of a discussion with 3 or 4 of us, and one of the people in the group said, "It's very difficult for any of us to see our own blind spots." And I'm nodding my head thinking, that is a brilliant statement and totally accurate. But this person that I had admired and considered to be a great leader said very confidently, "I do not have any blind spots." And you could look in the faces of all of the others, and first of all, they couldn't believe what they were hearing, and we all knew him and knew that, like all of us, he had blind spots. But there is this something in some leaders that you can't admit you're human. Go ahead and admit it. Everyone else knows it, so you may as well admit. And when you make a mistake, just confess it, own it, speak it, and do whatever you need to do to keep moving on. I think one of the reasons, like my friend who didn't want to admit that he had any blind spots, or my other friends who don't want to admit that they've ever made a mistake, is when we admit that we're wrong, when we admit that we did something wrong, that we made a mistake, we miscalculated, we are left with a feeling of vulnerability. If my people know that I don't know what I'm doing, they'll lose confidence in me. They'll quit following me. I will no longer be the leader. Part of understanding that we're human, we have to begin dealing with our feelings of being vulnerable. It's okay. You are a member of the human race. But what I have discovered, happily discovered, is that if you admit your mistakes to the group you're leading or your team, rather than them saying, "Oh man, you're not much of a leader. I thought you really knew what you were doing," the opposite is really true. Rather than them losing confidence in you and not wanting to follow you, it seems that when we admit those times that we're wrong and we've made a mistake or we've miscalculated, it seems to give them a renewed confidence in our leadership ability. It's as if they're saying, if you're that real and you're that vulnerable and you're that willing to own it and not try to always blame somebody else and it's somebody out there's fault, or it's some circumstance beyond your control's fault, and if you just say, "Hey, I was wrong. I didn't have all the information. We should have done this. I should not have been so hasty." Whatever it is, it doesn't make any difference. It seems to give the people around us more confidence in us that we're not just going to push things through when we realize they're not working, and we're going to own our mistakes. So listen, you are human, leader. Admit your mistakes. The ones you can fix, fix. The ones you can't fix, apologize, ask forgiveness. Find a new way to do something. So that's the first thing I want to say about you're human. It's okay. All humans do dumb things. All humans make mistakes. Own it, speak it. The other thing that I want to remind us, why I want to remind us that we're human as leaders, is it may be the number one enemy for all leaders is pride. Pride that says, "I can't be wrong." It's as if we begin to believe our press clippings. These people think I'm wonderful. I really am outstanding. They really are blessed to have someone with my capabilities serve as their leader. And pride leads to destruction. And how you know you're filled with pride is if you can, it goes back to the first thing that I admitted. If you can't admit that you're wrong, if you can't admit that you made a mistake, you're being filled with pride. The antidote for pride is vulnerability and understanding that I am a flawed human being, and it's okay. It's great to have pride in your accomplishments, but I'm talking about an unhealthy pride that thinks you can't ever be wrong, that you are God's gift to this group, and you are the best leader who ever lived. Watch and keep your pride in check. It's okay. You are going to be wrong. Everyone is. I am. So you are human, and remember, humans have a tendency, left unchecked, to go to an unhealthy level of pride, which will ultimately lead to your and a whole lot of other people's destruction. The third one that I want us to look about is you're human, and it's okay, leader, is conflict. You are going to have conflict. People think, well, in our organization or at our church or our business, we can't have conflict. We're better than that. But think about it for a moment. Think of your family or any family that you know. Even in the healthiest and best of families, from time to time, there's conflict. One of the problems is that we have come to the point of perceiving conflict as always negative. There is some healthy things that come out of it as well. We learn a lot about ourselves and other kinds of situations. Now, I'm not saying get up every day and go out and see if you can create a conflict. You won't have to go looking for conflict, leader. Conflict will hunt you down like a bloodhound. But there is an important lesson I have learned as I have been involved or been in the midst of conflict from time to time. And conflict has been my greatest teacher of humility. When you're in a conflict and people are saying not very nice things, because we leaders love it when people say nice things about us. But when you're in conflict and people say things that are not just not nice, that many times they're cruel and they're mean-spirited. But it does, hopefully, cause us to have some moments of reflection. Am I really like that? What I have learned is I'm not nearly as good as my fans think I am, and I'm not nearly as bad as my enemies think I am. I'm somewhere in the middle. But when you go through conflict, it's a wonderful, wonderful instructor in the art of being humble. I am not always right. Everyone is not always going to agree with me. Let me always check my heart, my mind, and my spirit, because I want to be the best leader I can be. Leader, you're human, and it's okay. That's who you were created to be. Whatever season you're in today, embrace it. If you've made mistakes, admit it. People will have more confidence in your leadership ability if you admit when you're wrong. Be on constant vigilance and guard against pride. If left unchecked, it will destroy us. And remember, you're going to go through conflict from time to time. Allow it to be your instructor in keeping a humble spirit. This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, and productivity. If you would please subscribe wherever you download podcasts and leave a rating and a review, I will greatly appreciate it. Remember, my dear leader friend, whatever season you're in, embrace it. And remember, you are human, but it's okay. And you are doing a better job than you think you are. Until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying have a great and blessed day.